I don't trust you if this is seemingly your mode. If that's what you're putting out, I'm getting gulag vibes. I'm getting, you would send me or my family or your own previous selves to the gulag.
Baby, come, clapping on this, clapping on this, wasn't slapping on this, hey.
I've experienced my own self plenty of periods of my life where I did feel so lonely because of what I had learned. And by continuing on that path, I think you eventually can find others who are also on similar journeys and can help a bit with the loneliness, but then also, in the long run, the freedom of being fully aware of problems and no longer being blissfully ignorant, I think is so much better in the long run.
Right. And something that we do when we do this, when we move from position or group to another perspective, doesn't mean that you've left the group, just means you're in another perspective. Mm-hmm. We can be ashamed of our previous selves, which is never a really good route, because you were who you were to the best of your ability. I'm assuming you were being who you were being to the best of your ability, provided the resources you were given. And you have to give yourself as much empathy as you would give another person in that situation, lacking access to certain forms of necessary knowledge, what I like to call systemic stultification, which is really ignorance that is fostered by the existing system or order. A little grace to your previous selves is necessary. And what's more is that we forget that we were at an intro level once. Mm-hmm. I was there. How foolish is it to move on to 102 and look back at 101 and be like, puh, losers. Mm-hmm. Why do we do this? And I call it bridge burning, right? Yeah. Gatekeepers are bridge burners. Yeah. Because one of the biggest problems with gatekeeping is that you assume that you're in the right position. If you think you're at the right position now, then I'm just like, well, what? You're done growing? Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean? The other thing is like, you got there. How did you get there? You come from somewhere else, and now you're going to turn around and be like, burn the bridge for how I got here. It's canceled. No more School of Life. And I use the School of Life here because it's the most innocuous example. If I was to use Destiny, it's like, whoa, this is a lot more, But some people, that's a bridge. Yeah. Other people, maybe they think that that's a place where they can just spend the rest of their lives, is in that mode and in that space. It doesn't really seem like a space that is going to be comfortable for people to live in for the rest of their lives. It really does seem like a point where people are moving through. But the other thing is, I feel like there's something condescending about being like, well, but they're a gateway and therefore they're okay. It's like, that's still okay. First of all, we hold people to standards, and we should be critical of everything. But and someone being a gateway doesn't let them off the hook. But also the other thing is that even if someone never changes, they're still valid. Mm-hmm. If someone is your family and your whole mode with them is like, don't worry, you'll get to where I am and I love you. And like, it's insinuated, but if you don't get to where I am, I will revoke my love after a certain point. Yeah. I don't trust you if this is seemingly your mode. If that's what you're putting out, I'm getting gulag vibes. I'm getting, you would send me or my family or your own previous selves to the gulag. Mm-hmm. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of this because anyone who wants to affect social change needs to be someone who isn't scaring people. Isn't sending people's fear alarms off, because we're talking about transformation of society. We're talking about large-scale systemic changes, and a lot of change is necessary in those movements. And it's like, if we're not giving people the room to be themselves, potentially be wrong, to also realize that we might be wrong along the way, if we don't maintain that modicum of critical distance, then it's more than bad optics. I think totalitarian thinking that feeds off of friend-enemy distinctions and fear and hate are inherently going to cause us personal suffering and do a lot to hurt what we're fighting for. If there's two internets, one's bad habit is letting people off the hook. The other one's bad habit is writing people off. Like, you know, like making it rain. Like I do the same motion, but for writing people off. Like, they're done, they're done, they're done. It's a mode that you can kind of become addicted to, because in a sort of sense, if you've written someone off, you can insinuate that you were in a superior position, which is why you did it. And so if you're always going around writing other people off, then you're in a mode of like, I've got the right take. I've got the right perspective. I don't need other perspectives. Dialogue is useless. We know the direction we're headed in, and screw these people. And yeah, there comes a time when maybe that's necessary. And obviously, like, if you get the vibe that someone's trolling you or getting off on harming you or wasting your time, then obviously, like, wash your hands of them. But also, like, maybe don't give in to that part of the human tendency to gain a sadistic pleasure from that disavowal. And, like, realize that person can change. Realize you don't have to sit there and pontificate about how they can change. Like, look at me patting myself on the back because I'm saying this even. You know what I mean? And that kind of, like, that criticality where I can't even say it without realizing that I'm doing it right now is part of what comes with, like, theory, and why a lot of people who study it become so, like, they don't want to talk about it because they're going to mess it up. Because if you find Lacan interesting and you want to talk about a Lacanian concept, like, there are people who've dedicated their entire lives to that, and they're going to think that you're an imbecile. And you're like, but I find this really interesting. And so that's why theory plebe kind of makes sense, is because I'm going to mess it up. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I'm a plebe. And you know, you can be elitist and snobby about it all you want, but I'm going to try to understand myself in the world. And you can't hold that against me. Or you can, but you can shove it. And the last point is that, you know, theory it has its pitfalls. There are negative human tendencies that will exploit anything that you do. Mm-hmm. And your ego will suck you right into those negative exercises of whatever it is you're doing. And you have to always be on guard. With theory, making excuses for yourself and putting yourself in a position over other people is often a tendency to be on guard for. And one of the things that I really think people need to be on guard for is armchair psychoanalyzing other people. Do you kind of get what I'm saying by that? Like, armchair psychoanalyzing. Does that make sense?
Reading something and then feeling like now you know how everyone works, how everyone's brain works, and you could diagnose everybody because you read what they haven't read. Yeah. Yeah, you don't even have to read anything. You could just spend time in any of the spaces online where people sit around diagnosing. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, there are spaces online that are the WebMD for psychiatry, for instance, you know. And it's like, look, we don't know the insides of other people. Mm-hmm. We don't know other people's intent. We don't know their experiences. We don't know their subjectivity. And, but we do have some pretty cool theories about how that's all working. And when you take those theories too seriously and then you posit that you know what's going on with other people, there's a danger there. And in theory, we call that totalization. And it's a noxious habit. Levinas talks a lot about it. Be on guard for that, but, you know, it goes a step further. We have the psychological approach for explaining away why a person is saying or doing what they're doing that is other than what they think, right? So, like, there's the person in their self-report. They say, well, the reason I say or do what I'm doing is because of this. And then you say, that's what you think. But in reality, you're doing it because of, your relationship with your mom or whatever it is. Maybe true, but the thing is like, maybe like don't get too swept away by that. Yeah. Well, the other is the sociological analysis armchair that we can do, where we say, well, the real reason you're doing that is because you've internalized the superstructure, you've internalized the oppressor, you've internalized ideology
And that's the reason that you're doing or saying what you're saying or doing. And the thing is like often true, maybe true of all of us within varying degrees. And maybe you are better at it than the rest of us, but nobody really feels respected or like you see the human dignity in them when you don't listen to them and kind of take them at their word within reason. And if you get too caught up in psychoanalyzing and sociologicalizing everything that other people are doing, then that part where you're just opening yourself to the other person's testimony of their experience, that's undermined. Now, trolls can really exploit that generosity online. I don't know what the right mode is online, but I'm saying when it comes to real life interactions with other people, if they get the feel that you're always doing this to them, yeah, you're going to lose some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, you should stop. And I do it all the time. I try to stop myself because it is a bad habit that you develop. Because you're just trying to understand these ideas better and you're trying to understand the world better. And so you're doing this, but yeah there's still a human there that is not collapsed into your ideas. That human lives beyond the ideas themselves.
Yeah. I just makes me think too, how we could get really excited to apply the ideas we're learning about because of how great we feel learning them, when we also need to allow time for ourselves for those ideas to work within us. Spend some time just letting it work within you and seeing maybe in life how it applies, but not speaking so quick on it, just letting it work within you. And then eventually, once you've worked it out for a while in your day-to-day life, then you could start to speak on it from a more calm, rational, wise place. So I feel like theory is very, very valuable, but not to satisfy your every need, not to give you all this self-confidence. Those are different categories, and yet theory is very helpful, like you said, for making a better world. So thank you so much. And we've got to go and subscribe to them and subscribe to me and subscribe to all these other leftist YouTubers.
Subscribe to everybody!
I subscribe to all of them, so...
Thank you for watching, everybody. Like I said, go subscribe to Theory Pleeb. Go follow them on everything and go show them some love. Show them how much you appreciated these videos. And, of course, go follow me and subscribe to me. And also follow me on twitch.tv/whoisdamon, where we stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have a lot of fun over there. Also, all these 3 clips that you've seen of my interview with Theory Pleeb was only still just about half of the entire interview that we did. So if you want to see the rest of it, of course, go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Damon Garcia, and become a patron today. I would greatly appreciate the support, and you get to see some exclusive content. Shout out to my patrons already over there: Karen in Colorado, Ranger Jenny, Refined Your Scene, James Finlay, New Transcendentalist, Kristen Mouse, Mike Totman, Peter John Blake, Rob Hutton, Jack Theory Pleeb, Jacob McCarthy, Mike Lodato, Frank Morales, Fama Pasa, They Were Monsters, and Julianne King. Join this community and keep on watching. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.